Well, thank you all for coming and joining me this evening. We're talking about trustees, and you've all got a wealth of knowledge that you're all bringing to my cosy, comfortable sofa lounge this evening. Thank you for coming. So we've got Charlotte, give us a wave, Charlotte, over there. We've got Deela, we've got Linda over there, and we've got Ron. So obviously the subject today is trustees. You're all trustees for various things. How about we ask you first of all to tell us, maybe Charlotte first, who you're a trustee for and how long you've been a trustee.
Okay, I'm a trustee for a local church. I'm trying to remember when I was first asked. I've been either a trustee or a school governor for about 20 years on and off, not always the same organisation, but I've always been in that role somewhere.
And they're very similar roles, I suppose, are they, being a governor and a trustee?
They've got quite a lot of similarities.
Yeah, maybe we'll come to that. Linda, tell us a little bit about, obviously you're from Fareham Scouts because it says it all, but
yeah,
how long have you been with them?
Well, I've been the chair for 6 years, but I was on the exec committee to start with. I actually fell into volunteering. I didn't have a goal that I was going to go out and volunteer, but my grandchildren joined First Fareham Scouts, starting with the eldest one, and I got into it, and then I was sort of led into the exec committee, and then the chair role came free and nobody else wanted it, so I was dragged into that on a temporary basis, I might add, till I got someone else, and I'm still here.
Right, okay.
So I basically do the fundraising for the group.
Yeah.
So I organise the fundraising, obviously the meetings.
Yeah. So
I run the fundraising events.
Yeah.
And basically, dog body, uniform bank, use uniform bank.
Okay.
Anything that needs going.
All right. Well, we'll come back a bit more to what you do in your role, if that's all right, in a minute. Ron.
Yeah, that's fine.
You're a trustee for one community, but you have other hats, I believe.
I do. I first became a trustee in 1979 when I.
Oh, I think you trump everybody.
When I became no, because I wasn't continually a sort of trustee. I became a governor of a local school. I was a church appointed to the governor. I then, because of work, never was able to sort of balance being a trustee and doing a job. And I had a very busy sort of job as a sort of chief executive. But I was asked to fulfill a role at South Downs College, and I became the governor and sort of trustee there. And I was there for 4 years. I became a trustee of Rachel Maddox, a special school. But in my role, I was asked by the sort of government, could I look into sort of working with ex-offenders, which I did. And I then became a governor of NACRO. That was in sort of 2014. Wonderful job working, and I can explain a little bit more about that later on. I'm now vice chairman, and I lead on the national safeguarding lead and the environment, and I chair the people sort of committee. So it's sort of very busy.
Yeah. And
then one of the things I decided to do when I was retiring was I would do 3 things. And 1 was NACRO, 2 was being a governor at Rachel Maddox, and 3, and it was you, Hayley, who sort of suggested I think about one community, because I think I asked a question, didn't I? I'm also vice president of a sort of Rotary Club, so it's busy, but I enjoyed sort of being busy.
Fantastic.
For one community, I've been a trustee for about 4 months, 5 months.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah, and haven't looked back, I do believe. Had chance, have we really?
Onwards and upwards.
Yes. Stella, you tell us a little bit about you and how long you've been a trustee.
Yeah, sure. Just in terms of background, my background's a bit different. I come from a sort of a finance background, so I'm a chartered accountant, and pretty much started volunteering as a trustee for our local church obviously it was sort of a startup. I wouldn't call it a startup, but it's when the church started, I was sort of brought on board to help with in terms of looking at the finance, compliance, everything to do with accounting, getting set up in company's house, etc. But prior to being a trustee, I've sort of been a bit of like a sounding board for some of the University of Southampton students, most of them who are looking at starting up. So I'd say probably that sort of was a catalyst to sort of getting formally involved as a trustee with smaller charities. So that my background is finance related, hence joining initially the church as a trustee, and then subsequent to that, a few other churches sort of being a trustee or joining the body of trustees, but mostly from a finance perspective. Yeah.
If so, all of you now really just plow in with your comments and feedback. If someone was to ask the question, what is a trustee? What do you feel is the best way from your experience to answer that? Please just plow in. Just, you know, just say what you feel about what is a trustee.
Well, I think it's somebody who is responsible for governance. They're responsible for the finances. They, if it's a charity, which it normally is, there are other things, then you're answerable to the Charity Commission. So you have a lot of responsibility. You know, it's sort of Della, is it a going concern? You know, it's looking at sort of cash flow, looking at sort of staffing and else. So you're running a business, but you're one step removed, is how I feel it.
Oh, that's a good point. Linda, would you agree with that? Would you say that's with you?
Yeah, I would think to simplify it, because we found that when we have new exec members joining, and if we need them to be a trustee to try and explain it, what we really say is you're helping to make sure that the charity, the group, is run properly. So you're helping to make sure the finances are run properly and all the other things are run properly. And that really just simplifies it a bit for people just coming in to it.
And do you think that, Charlotte or Dela, do you think that they have to have special skills to be a trustee? Is it something you can learn as you go? What would you say?
Charities are different. So depending on the size of your charity, I think might depend on the skills you need. But I think there's a mixture of everyone brings experience to a governing, a board of trustees. It's helpful to have business experience, but that's not all that's required. So I think it depends who else is on the group of trustees. And a lot of people have transferable skills that are useful. I mean, we're trustees, a key role is making sure that the charity keeps within its charitable objects or sticks to its strategic direction, you know, achieves the purpose it's set up for. And that's quite different depending on the size of the charity. So I think the skills you need are probably different too. I didn't have any skills when I started on the job, I have to say.
You since, I suppose, I suppose, Della, can you tell me, I mean, when you started, obviously you've come from a finance background. Does that mean that most people look at you to say, right, you're going to be a trustee with financial responsibility? Or can you kind of dip and dive, if you like, in what you're doing?
I think it's twofold, because for me, when you put your trustee hat on, I sort of compare it to a director, effectively a director, but it's not a company, as Charlotte said. It's a director of a charity, and there are different sort of levels of governance. But as you're part of the Charities Commission, the obligations are not far. I'd say they're akin to setting up a company and running it as a director of a company with all the statutory obligations behind it. So, and I'd say they're equal responsibilities, but obviously most trusteeship roles are obviously non-remunerated. You're not paid for it.
Yeah.
So there's some element of passion, or you get involved with a charity which you're passionate about, or where you think you can make a difference, as opposed to being paid in a company where you're rewarded, a corporate body. So for me, I'd say it also depends on the size and the stage of growth of the charity as well. So initially, when most charities set up, they're quite small. So anyone pretty much puts their hands up and says, I'd love to join, which is a good thing, because they obviously need the volunteers to help the charity either setting up or sort of starting up in initial phases. So I'd say you don't necessarily have to have a specific skill set as the charity starts up in its embryonic phase, but as it gets bigger and bigger, and you have to sort of start putting in layers of controls and checks, etc. That's probably why I say you have to probably start as a body of charities, as a body of trustees, sorry.
Yes.
Start looking at skill sets, saying, okay, where are the gaps? What do we need to strengthen the team? But as I say, I'd say you should be more passionate about the charity you're getting involved with first.
That's very true. And I suppose
can I, sorry, Hedy, can I just say that the previous one, I don't know her name.
Sure.
Yeah, what I was saying is that we find, because we are a very small charity, and we find it very difficult to recruit anybody onto the exec. I would say that you don't need any business acumen, any skills or anything like that, because you just need to want to do it.
Yeah, the enthusiasm.
And you learn on the job.
Yeah.
Because I think if we started putting out, if you had sort of business skills or this skills or whatever, we wouldn't get anybody.
Yeah.
Even now we struggle to get people with no experience. And you do learn on the job. I didn't have any whatsoever. I mean,
like you, when you say that you got involved because was it your grandchild became a member of the Scouts?
Yeah.
You started as a parent, grandparent, really, and you gradually grew into what you're doing.
I was a complete novice. Yeah. I didn't even know Scout groups were charities.
Right. Yeah.
When we first, had our community, communication with them, I didn't know, and a lot of the people don't realise.
I know,
but I certainly didn't know, and I learnt on the job. I used to just go to meetings. I probably wouldn't say anything. I would just listen.
Right.
And then I got a bit more I got to know the chair then. He was going off to university.
Yeah.
So he asked me to actually do little things for him. And that's how I built up my experience, just helping out.
Absolutely fantastic. And the thing is with Scouts and Brownies and things like that, majority of the exec groups, I suspect, are parents or grandparents or people that are involved in part of the groups across the borough. Ron, anything that you wanted to add to that we've not mentioned?
Well, I'm not sure. I tend to agree with Della is that you do need to have experience.
Yeah.
And it's a question of scale.
Okay.
If you have a sort of small charity, then fine, as long as you're adapting to the mission and values of that particular organisation.
Yeah.
But an element of sort of scale, as you improve, and develop and grow, you will need a business plan, and that's unheard of in a small sort of charity.
Yeah.
But you will need a strategy. You will need, you will need sort of various skills on marketing, on people management, and everything else. And one of the things you haven't mentioned, but it is quite key to the success of any organisation, is the role of the chairman.
Yeah, that's true.
Because he or she has to manage the group, the executives, the sort of trustees. And that is a very lonely role sometimes. If it's done
Linda would agree with that.
Agree.
Linda's a chairman. Yes, absolutely. Yeah. So when obviously you all commit different timescales to what you do. But obviously you wouldn't do it if you didn't enjoy it, I would hope, and get satisfaction from it. So if somebody was approaching me to say that question of, I want to volunteer, I don't know what I want to do, and I'm trying to sell them the idea of being a trustee, what would you say to those people about the benefits of being a trustee? How would you sell it?
If I was, if I were you, and I don't know whether, I'm used to, for the charity to have a job description.
Yeah.
That it's something that is written down. This is the role you need to play. Now, smaller charities won't do that, but the medium to larger ones will. What are my responsibilities? What are my liabilities? How much time do you...
Time's a big one, isn't it?
Time is an enormous one. And are you expecting me to come out on Sunday mornings at sort of 7 o'clock or, you know, whatever it is? I think you've got to spell it out and be totally honest.
Yeah.
But being a trustee is an attractive role. You know, it can be a lot of fun if you pick the right organisation.
I think that's very important, to pick the right organisation. Obviously, you all have ones that are very much heart. Dalla, do you think it's quite good as from a business point of view, from a businessman who has very little time? I'm not saying that's you, but I'm just talking about someone who may want to volunteer and is talking to us about volunteering. Do you think it's a good thing to be a trustee of an organisation or a charity?
I think it's a fantastic opportunity to make a difference. But I'll say what's been helpful and what I've done practically or seen practically is, if someone is interested, why don't you give them a trial period?
Yeah,
we've done that in the past, where you ask them to come and sit in your meetings for 3 months. Give them 3 months to sit in a meeting and join you, and just you find that they end up learning a bit more, and they sort of, you're open with them. I mean, yeah, if there's stuff that's confidential to do with salaries, etc., you sort of you can have a 5-minute recess where they can step out with confidential issues, but let them feel part of the team. Let them, give them a bit of a responsibility. Let them try something. And I know 99% of the time we've done that. Most of the people who've tried have ended up staying.
Very good idea.
So there's no commitment. It's just come and join the team and just see how it works.
Yeah, I think that's a really fabulous point. I think certainly because it changes from organisation to organisation, particularly as we were saying on their size, and also what experience there already is within the group as well. So it is quite daunting from someone who wants to volunteer to come along. So I think the trial idea is fantastic.
Or co-option.
Yes. Yeah. Very good point.
We Hayley, if we try to recruit parents, and we use the one of your children enjoy all the facilities that all the leaders and that provide. If you want to give a little something back, but also you can be part of seeing that the group is managed properly.
Yeah,
and we invite them to the exec meetings. Come and sit in and see what we talk about and see what we do. And then we filter them out. You know, they can decide what they want to be, you know, because we have various roles, obviously, secretary and various other things. But one thing we do say, which I will say to anybody who's interested, is that I came into it by accident, but I get a lot of personal satisfaction from doing it. I was told my role was potentially 4 meetings a year. Now I just burst out laughing if anybody reminds me about that, because it does, you know, when you're in the chair, it does tend to take over your life.
For the chair, I can see.
But you get a lot of personal satisfaction. I mean, a little group like ours, we raised £24,000 to put a new roof on the hut, take an asbestos one off.
Oh, yes,
and put a new roof on. Well, I tell you what, the satisfaction of having that new roof.
Fantastic.
For a little group like ours, where we don't get any other funding from anywhere.
Fantastic.
Brilliant. And there's a lot of satisfaction, and I still,
he's still,
you know, revel in the glory of that.
And what a great thing for the community. And I think for us, as the voluntary sector, trustees is something that all the organisations that we deal with need. And there's many potential volunteers out there that come to us that really can't quite grasp what the role of a trustee is. So this is really, really helpful for us to be able to point them into the direction to watch this conversation. Charlotte, is there anything that you can think of that we haven't touched on that would be a worthy part of this film?
Well, I was just going to say, in terms of why I do it, it is really rewarding. I've really enjoyed using skills that I've got to help a charity run. Some of them I didn't know I had, actually. Some of them come from work, but some of them are just things, you know, in terms of the ability to ask questions, all that sort of stuff's quite key to this role. But actually the best thing is just getting to know, working alongside a team of people and making some new friends and working in the voluntary sector, you always meet an interesting bunch of people who surprise you, which is really rewarding.
Yeah.
And I think I've done both the chairperson role and being a committee member. The chairperson role is time consuming. Being committee member less so. I think when I've been a member of the trustee board, I've been able to kind of choose how much time I've given. And actually I've been part of a number of groups that have had a real mixture of people. They've had someone like Della who's come to bring a specific set of skills, and actually what they've given to the trustees group has been quite sort of bounded in terms of that specific skill set, but it's really useful. Not necessarily taking lots of time. I know for Della it does, but it depends on the skills. But we've also had people in the trustees group who wouldn't say they had lots of skills, but actually have quite a lot of time and enthusiasm. You can go to, I don't know, lots of outreach things, or attend lots of events, or talk to people. And it's sometimes it's those more transferable skills that are really useful, or someone who just always will always ask a question, you know, getting to the nugget of what's important. So business skills are really important, I agree, but they're not the only skills that you need on a trustee board. And sometimes you have one person in the group who just makes the team work somehow. Just
makes good biscuits or cake, I would find.
It might be making cake. Or it might just be sort of softening the way someone else answers questions. You need quite a range of skills on a team. But I've met some really interesting people over the years of being a trustee, which
thank you. That's fantastic. Ron, anything you want to add? Obviously you get a lot of satisfaction from it, and anything you want to add?
Well, it keeps me busy. It keeps my brain sort of ticking over. But it just, when you were sort of talking, every charity has to have an AGM.
Yes, that's a very good point. Yeah.
And at the AGM, that can be a good recruiting opportunity for sort of trustees. But what my experience has told me, and I've done it with several sort of charities, is make the AGM fun.
Yeah.
You know, not a boring sort of just passing pieces of paper around, you know, and sort of, you know, ticking out. Make it fun, get a good speaker or do something. And that can be a real good, strong recruiting ground for trustees.
That's a good point. Yeah.
I agree. Speaking what you're just saying about the AGM, when I first started our AGM, we had probably 2 parents turned up. So there was all the leaders and 2 parents, and I was one of them. Anyway, when we took over, we said we need to make the AGM more interesting.
Yeah.
So we made it an AGM, an awards evening.
Lovely idea.
And we designed these awards for the kids and leaders.
Yeah.
But what we did was we didn't tell them who was getting awards. So they all had to come up. And the first AGM we did like that awards evening, it was that full in the hall. You've been in our hall.
I've been in the hall, yes.
That was that full. There was people stood at the back.
Wow.
And my very first one and I turned up and I said to John, "Oh, SHIT." It was the first time I'd done, and you know, because I'm not very good at public speaking. You know, I can talk there like of a donkey, but public speaking, I'm not very good. And I was quivering. There was that many people looking at me. But it was such a huge success, and we've done that every year since.
That's what I'm
and
talking
we get
about.
The parents in that way. So what you were saying is good.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Della, obviously, I'm just going to come to you now about what obviously you enjoy it, but is there anything you want to add to what you get from it? And before we close for the evening, anything you want to add?
I'd say it's fulfilling. You get to meet different people of different walks of life, different charity, and they become friends for life as well.
Yeah.
And you rub off each other, you learn off each other as well. So obviously I come in the finance hat, but you end up leaving with a transferable skill.
Yeah.
As Charlotte said, you do learn from each other. And it's good fun. You have to make sure you make it fun.
Yeah, I think
it's good fun,
I think we ought to mention before we went on to record Charlotte's first trustees meeting. Charlotte, what happened there? They're not all like this, by the way.
No, they're not. I was only in my 20s. I was completely new. I had no idea what I was signing up for. And I turned up to a trustees meeting, which the chair was a head teacher. And And they cracked open a bottle of wine, which I thought was quite a good start. And the meeting started at 7:30. It didn't finish till 1 in the morning.
They're not all like that.
I took over as chair after that, and we didn't go after 10 p.m. from that point, because I had a job to go to in the morning.
Well, I just want to thank you all very much for coming along this evening and talking about this. This is a subject that I really hope people will feel the passion that's coming through from Zoom, because I know there is a lot there from you guys. And, you know, these organisations really cannot survive without people like you giving all the time that you give. So thank you very much for coming along. We will be putting this up on YouTube shortly, so you will be able to watch it and share it. But
oh my goodness, him at last.
But thank you very much for coming. Lovely to see you. Take care.
You're welcome. Thanks,
bye. Bye.
Bye.
Right. Okay, well, before we go from you guys watching this evening, thank you very much for tuning in for our first community conversation with One Community. I've got a little notice here for you with our website and our Eastleigh office phone number should you have any questions from what you've seen. We are really keen to do more of these community conversations. If you have any ideas of topics that you'd like us to talk about, that the community conversations can enlighten you on, then please do let us know. We hope this gives you a bit of interest into doing some more volunteering, maybe with being a trustee or whatever, and we look forward to hearing from you. Thank you very much indeed for your time. Take care. Bye-bye.